Motoring 2011 on TSN is brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward.
So what do you think? This is the new redesigned Chrysler 300. Now this car has undergone many reincarnations since it came to be in 1955. Now the last generation, a huge success. In fact, we picked it as our car of the year in 2005. It had that distinct squared off design. In fact, it looked like a gangster car. Rear wheel drive, Hemi engine option, again a big success. Even Snoop Dogg loved the vehicle, which helped bring in a younger demographic. Well, the new edition was debuted in Detroit and it got mixed reviews. More on that later. Well, this week we're in the beautiful desert of Southern California. And as somebody said, a bad day here is still better than a good day during the winter months in the Northeast. And I gotta agree with them. Anyway, we're here to check out this brand new redesigned Chrysler 300. And among other things, we're going to discover that unlike its predecessor, this car spent some time in finishing school.
When we went into the redesigned 300, the engineering team and actually extended team, we felt that we had a huge responsibility because the original car was the most award-winning new car ever, so how do you top that?
With the styling, it's not as distinctive. So are you going to attract the same type of cult-like characters that really got into the first car? Probably not. Does it translate into the more sales? That's probably the goal here.
And one of the most exciting aspects about 2010 is the launch of 16 all-new or significantly refreshed products. It's well over $5 billion of capital expenditures that are hitting Canadian roads right now and Canadian dealerships.
Okay, let me get this straight. Despite the fact that pickup trucks in Canada now have their biggest market share at just over 54%, the sweet spot in the Canadian market is still compact. Yet you get a company like Chrysler on a comeback and they redesign a large luxury vehicle.
Not everybody wants to drive a compact car. A lot of Canadians want to drive mid-size and full-size vehicles, be it SUVs or cars. And the thing about this 300 is we've made it much more relevant to today's world by getting 39 imperial miles to the gallon, a 48 horsepower improvement over its predecessor. And I think it's really that miles per gallon that is going to keep the 300 competitive and relevant in the Canadian market.
It is all new, so many people may question, oh, well, it's just a slight modification on the original version. The vehicle is all new, so from the ground up, we've put premium tires on the vehicle, we've redesigned the chassis suspension, complete upgrades, so the on-road manners are extremely competent, and one of the things I think people may not recognize has changed about the car. We now offer the all-new Pentastar V6 in our entry-level vehicle, and it produces 292 horsepower, 18 city, 27 highway.
With the 3.6, the famous Pentastar, Chrysler is doing what Nissan has been doing for years. They will put that engine virtually everywhere in the family. The good news is it's a good engine. It's going to get an 8-speed automatic starting later this year. So I think the immediate future of Chrysler relies on this engine.
Okay, I got a couple of pet peeves with the Chrysler 300. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Brad, we've heard it before. Well, you're going to hear it again. And Chrysler's not the only one to drop the ball on these particular issues. One is access to the trunk. You've got a button inside, you got the key fob, but you got the groceries. You just want to open up the trunk and there's no button. I don't know why this is such a problem. The second one, again, you've heard this before, but this is a real safety issue. Notice the turn signal light. It is red. Meanwhile, up front, we have not one but two yellow indicators. So the guy in front of you and coming at you in the middle of the night, he knows you're going to turn. The guy following you as you slow down sees a red brake light and a red turn signal indicator. Man, this guy has got to be thinking fast. What I don't understand is Chrysler's got like $5 billion in research money, $10 billion in the bank. They got the money and they got the yellow light bulbs. What is the problem?
Once you get in the car, the styling actually matches the driving experience. It's much quieter, much nicer on the highway. Essentially the same type of car, but probably a little nicer to drive overall.
Well, I think it's still reminiscent of the classic 300 that really cut through and did extremely well in the North American marketplace. So I think we're going to be able to preserve those customers, but this 300 is a lot more refined and a lot more fuel efficient than its predecessor. And I think because of those attributes, we're going to be bringing a whole new segment of customers, all going well, to the Chrysler 300.
From a luxury car standpoint, noise, vibration, harshness, features, there's nothing lacking. It just really comes down to, are people comfortable with paying that type of money for the Chrysler brand? I think it's more of a brand issue than a product issue, and that's something that we'll leave it to Chrysler marketing to figure out.
You sleeping better these days?
I am sleeping, but you can never rest. You rest for 1 minute and you're going to get your head kicked in. The marketplace is very competitive. There's 250 different nameplates out there, but I think we're certainly heading in the right direction.
I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own 4 eyes. That's later on Kenzie's Corner.
Not so long ago, it was very difficult to put General Motors and leading edge in the same sentence. That, however, has been changing of late. There's a 638 horsepower Corvette, a very good dual-mode hybrid system, and of course the Chevrolet Volts on the horizon. On this edition of Test Drive, the Chevrolet Cruze. For years, Chevrolet flogged the Cobalt as its compact offering. The drawback with this car was simple. It was so long in the tooth it was desperately in need of replacement. The Cruze addresses things very effectively. It rides on a longish 2685mm wheelbase and it has width. The combination delivers a sense of substance and an overall solidity to its drive that's a rare find at the affordable end of the price ladder. In this regard, it's a great family car that will find many fans. Another of the Cruze's highlights, especially if you go with the LTZ Turbo, is the manner in which the cabin has been finished off. You get all of the power toys you want, automatic climate control, very nice leather seats, and a top-notch Pioneer sound system with 9 very loud and proud speakers. It really is a marked departure from General Motors products of just a couple of years ago. Two very different engines provide the Cruze's motivation. The base 1.8-litre naturally aspirated 4 delivers 138 horsepower and 129 pound-feet of torque at 3,800 RPM. While more than adequate for most eventualities, it lacks the driving crispness of the up-level engine. The turbocharged engine is such that it puts 100k on the clock in 9.5 seconds, and it turns the more important 80 to 120 trick in 7.6 seconds. One of the highlights of this new Cruze is its new Ecotec engine. It delivers the best of both worlds, and it's a trendsetter. Instead of using the traditional large displacement 4, it uses a much smaller engine, 1.4 litres in this case, but then supplements it with a turbocharger. That, as I say, gives you the best of both worlds. On the one hand, 148 pound-feet of torque at 1,850 RPM. That gives you the turn of speed you want. On the flip side, when you're cruising the highway, this thing sips just 5.5 litres per 100 kilometres, and that is stellar mileage for a non-hybrid vehicle. The Tester arrived with a 6-speed Manumatic. It works well with the engine as the ratios bring good off-the-line performance and relaxed highway cruising. However, there's an anomaly. The transmission tends to stumble its way through the gears until things are fully warmed up. It puts a crimp in the overall sense of refinement. When you hop into the back seat, you'll find plenty of headroom and enough width for a couple of adults to sit in comfort. And as long as the driver and front passenger have got short 30-inch legs like mine, you get decent knee room. However, stick somebody that's 6'2" up front and the leg room disappears in somewhat of a hurry. Where the Cruze really makes a statement is the manner in which it handles. Its European heritage shines through in a very impressive manner. In fact, the driving feel is one of substance and control. On one hand, the suspension takes the sting out of a rough road, which delivers the demanded comfort. Conversely, unwanted body motion is limited to a few degrees. There is very little body roll through a fast corner, and even less pitch and dive under hard braking or acceleration. Likewise, the steering feel is excellent. It is light at low speeds, yet communicative at higher speeds. In this regard, the Cruze sets a high standard for the class. There's an awful lot to like about this new Chevy Cruze, especially its 1.4-litre turbocharged engine. It delivers both power and economy depending upon how you drive it. This car also handles very well, the cabin's been finished exceptionally well, and it starts at under $15,000. However, you can load this car up in a hurry. This vehicle, over $26,000, and that's not counting the nav system and the appearance package.
Make sure you check out our website. You never know what you'll see at motoringtv.com.
The changes to this SLP Camaro really do transform its personality. Obviously, the 585 horsepower makes it incredibly quick. It also handles exceptionally well, but it all comes at a cost.
Well, it certainly is the pinnacle of our achievements over the last 125 years. It's an eclectic car. It's our halo car, if you will. It's an everyday super sports car.
Now have a look at the grille on the previous generation Chrysler 300. That was one of the many things people liked about that car. Some did complain that Chrysler had ripped off Bentley, whatever. Now have a look at the new version. That's right, that old grille is not there, which had people at the Detroit Auto Show whining that, where's the old grille? Well, whine no more. Chrysler Canada tells me that through their Mopar division, you can have your car equipped with the old grille. How about that? All right, now let's head to the garage and join Bill Gardner.
Now, a few weeks ago, Brad's sister-in-law, Irene, in Halifax, Nova Scotia, bought a brand new vehicle. And she had that decision to make at the dealership whether to have the dealer-installed quote-unquote rust-proofing applied to the car. She made the decision to go ahead and get the rust-proofing material. Now, let's sort of stop right there and just clarify one thing. There is no such thing as rust-proof in this country or anywhere for that matter. Metal will rust eventually, no matter what happens to it, what you do to it, and what process you apply to it. If you knock the paint off and take away the finish of that material, eventually it's going to rust. Now you can apply rust inhibitor, which will inhibit or slow down that process and kind of put the brakes on it and maybe stretch that vehicle from being 6 to 10 year life to 10 to 15 years of lifespan if you look after it, but you're never going to completely stop it. And especially in a lot of areas of this country where we've got really high humidity, like right here around the Great Lakes where we've got rain and snow and sleet and road salt and all kinds of things that are going to increase or amplify the rust situation. Eventually you're going to have that problem. Now the situation is they may have got this material applied to some area of the car where the smell can get into the inside of the car. And this is the problem she's having. She's got a terrible smell in the car weeks and weeks after having this material applied, and they don't seem to be able to get rid of it. Now, we don't have the car, so we're not able to inspect it and see what kind of material, where they applied it, did it get on the exhaust system or into the interior of the car somehow. But I want to show you one area that certainly could be a problem depending on the type of material. If it's a petroleum-based material where there might be a smell associated, if they got it into an area like the underside of this trunk lid, most cars now have a pass-through and in the rear seat, and there's a conduit for air that's in this area to travel through the whole interior of the car. So when you get a little bit overzealous with the application of this product, as they've done on this particular car, you've got it all underneath the underside of the trunk lid, eventually, if there is a smell associated with that product, it's inevitable that it's going to travel into the interior of the car. So you need to be careful what material is selected, where it's applied, and how it's applied. There's all kinds of variables. Now, do you make the decision to buy a rust inhibitor material at the dealership? Well, if you're a skinflint like me and you want to keep your car pretty much drive it forever, it's going to pay off after 10 years. You'll have a viable chassis to work with that's not rusted out. You can keep doing mechanical repairs and keep it going. It's great for my business, but the downside of it is that when you're working on the car, you get into all this grease and grunge and goop. It's just, you know, imagine this car, if you put luggage in the trunk and closed the trunk lid and touched it, it's going to be on your luggage. It's just tough to avoid. When you're cleaning and waxing the car, the bottom of the doors, all the seams and gaps, it creeps out. It gets on your wash mitt and on your cloths when you're trying to wax the car, clean it. It can be a real nuisance. It's a double-edged sword, love-hate relationship. Sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2011.
The big thing that we're trying to get them to do is build up their confidence, and we're doing that by doing some driving exercises where when things go wrong, these are the kinds of things that can save your bacon on the street. And here we go. Catch it. Come on, come on, come on. Yes, 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 yes. That's it. That's it. Come on.
My daughter's out here, Caroline, and she's been driving now for probably 4 years. Excellent driver, but you know, she drives a lot on the highway and a lot of winter driving back and forth from our house to the university, and it's just good to have more experience driving in the snow under these conditions.
Nice job. Nice job.
I've been in an accident or two before, and one of them was in the winter because of ice, so I think this was really helpful. Now I know what to do when I lose control of my car, and so hopefully I won't be in any more accidents.
One of the things that makes it a good program is that when your kids are out there driving and they haven't had any training, they're liable to get in an accident, whereas you come out here under controlled circumstances, and you feel better as a parent knowing that your kids have had some training.
I drive a lot in between London and Toronto, and so when there's a lot of snow like there has been in the past little bit, it's really helpful for me to know that I can make the drive safely, and also I'm sure helpful for my parents to know that as well.
Correct, correct, correct. Power. That's it. Good job. Get ready. Counter steer, counter steer. Come on, come on, come on. Come on. Your hands. Stop moving. We don't want them to do the exercises perfectly every time. We want them to push themselves and find out what the limits of the car are. And when they do exceed the limits here, they are learning how to cope and bring the car back under control.
In my son's case, he is a bit tentative. He doesn't really know how to attack, if that's the right word, maybe it isn't, attack the winter. He sort of lets the winter attack him, and he doesn't know how to control the vehicle. So a winter driving course can help you become more relaxed behind the wheel in these conditions, definitely more safely. But it does take practice, so it becomes second nature when you do run into a situation on the road.
In addition to increasing their confidence, what happens here is their skill level goes up, so that when something does go wrong, they can indeed deal with it in the proper manner.
Tricky. Yeah, I thought it'd slip one more in on you.
Now, I have earned these gray hairs, but I was not at the press preview for the 1959 Chevrolet. That was the big, huge car with the massive wings. Some of you may have seen pictures of that. But there's a lot of people my age and older that seem to think that those big old cars were a lot safer than the junk we drive today. Those cars had the road-hugging weight and the big full frames and all the rest of that stuff. Well, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, IIHS in the United States, they're the outfit that measures the safety crash performance of new cars. They did a video of a crash test between a brand new Chevrolet Malibu, it's a mid-size car, and a 1959 Chevrolet Impala, which must have outweighed it by 1,000 pounds. And the Malibu completely destroyed the Impala. They do what they call a 1/3 overlap, where they have a head-on collision with just a third of the car's frontal areas overlapping, because that's kind of typical of what a head-on crash really looks like. The Malibu scythed through that Impala like a knife through melted butter. It actually ended up in the back seat of the Impala. The Malibu itself, well, the left front fender was a little bit crumpled, but that was it. The windshield wasn't even broken. Now, why does this happen? Because cars are engineered these days to crash. They give up. They absorb the energy of the crash. Just like when you jump off a chair, you bend your knees to absorb the energy. And that's what the Malibu was doing. Now, both cars had crash test dummies in them. The Malibu, the guy would have had like a scratch on his leg. The guy in the Impala, well, there wouldn't have been enough to bury the guy. So next time you hear some old timer saying that they don't build them like they used to, all you can say to him is, thank God for that. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Well, it's unanimous among Canadian journalists the new Chrysler 300 is a step up from its predecessor. Design aside, I'd have to agree, especially the interior that I think has really moved this vehicle into a luxury level. And I love the instrument gauge, especially at night, but then again, blue is my favorite color. The new 3.6 Pentastar V6 is powerful, it's smooth and exceptionally quiet, but I still have a soft spot for the V8. Have they refined this vehicle too much? Well, automotive journalist John LeBlanc told me that his wife would not drive in the old 300 simply because it looked too masculine. You know what they say, women make most of the decisions when it comes to car buying, so maybe, just maybe, Chrysler is onto something here. Make sure you join us next week, by the way, because we've got something completely different from this same car company. Before we go, make sure you check out motoringtv.com. We've got our full list of our top vehicles for 2010. We got the blog dogs, and of course, join Facebook for the total motoring experience. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
I think this is really going to appeal to a lot of Americans and Canadians alike. I think it has a lot going for it in terms of what you get for the money. I mean, for $16,000, that is a really good starting point. And for a vehicle that's so fun to drive, that really has that Italian flair and the Italian heritage, it really stands out on the road compared to a lot of vehicles that we see.
Motoring 2011 on TSN has been brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward.